We are not yet a quorum,
I'm
correct?
just getting a text from Madeline that she didn't get the webinar invite, so she's going to come in via the, oh, here she is.
Okay.
She's joining now.
Okay, now we have a quorum. Excuse me, I'm a little froggy today. So, are we good to go, Walker?
We are, make sure it's recording.
Okay. Not recording yet.
It is recording, so yeah, we're good to go.
Okay, great. So it's 7:02. I'm Robin Fordham, Chair of the Amherst Historical Commission. I am opening this, let's see, pursuant to the laws of Massachusetts. I'm opening this public meeting and we're opening the public hearing for I'm gonna do this all backwards. Let me open the public meeting first and say this meeting is being conducted via remote participation. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may via Zoom or telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. A hyperlink to the hearing has been posted on the town's online calendar. I'm also opening the public hearing in accordance with the provisions of Article 3.60 of Amherst General Bylaws, Preservation of Historically Significant Buildings. I am opening the public hearing to consider the following demolition application request. 94 Leslie Street. Applicants Brian and Catherine Murphy, a request to demolish and rebuild a two-story addition to the main house. So I believe that we begin the public hearing with a presentation from the applicant. I think they have their builder with them as well. Am I on the right track, Walker?
So Anna, you should be able to speak now.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're great.
Did you
So
have a screen share you wanted to do, or are you just gonna be talking?
I can, yeah.
Right, I can set it so you can share.
Excellent. All right, let me pull up. I'm thinking it would make sense just to start with the photos. I think would kind of be the easiest way to explain things.
Okay.
I'm not seeing the option for screen share popping up for me here.
Hi, Anna. This is Nate. If you tap your screen or put your mouse maybe near the bottom, sometimes it'll appear, the dashboard will appear.
Yeah, I have the dash down there that's giving me like audio, raise and lower hand, Q&A, but it's not giving me an option for screen share. Hmm.
I have it set so that anybody should be able to share, I think. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe it's because you're only you're not a panelist.
Sure. Do any of you have access to
Yeah, I think we should promote Anna and anyone else to a panelist, and I think then they could share their
Yeah,
screen.
I see. I didn't see how to do that before, but I'm gonna try that. So you're gonna disappear for a minute, Anna, and then you'll be
Okay.
back.
Great. Hello. All right.
Now try.
Welcome.
So sure, got it. All right. All right. Is that all visible to everybody?
Yep.
Great. So our proposal here is that we want to remove this rear section of the home that's boxed in red. This is the view from the edge of the driveway, so somewhat the roadside.
Can you zoom in just a little?
Oh, sure.
Small.
Yep.
Thank you.
So this is the main structure here that we're looking to preserve. And I think the best image of it, just kind of overall, give the overall quickest representation of what we're looking to do is looking to remove this this section here and then rebuild it here. So a few things are going on that are driving this. One is the addition is in not great condition. There's some questionable foundation situation, foundational support. It's over a crawl space. Framing's not in great shape, a lot of temporary supports, you know, kind of miscellanea kind of stacked up to support it. This was also renovated in, I think, 1994. It's either 93 or 94. There's a permit record of it, where you can kind of see here and here that like all the windows are just, there's not a single duplication of, you know, all different sizes, shapes, layouts, orientations. And then additionally on the second floor here, the head height's really low. So we have kind of two kind of stressors here. One is that it's 3 steps down from the main house. And then once you get into this space, you've got a lower head height here. So we see a lot of issues with the structure. Obviously, the energy package is not great. We're looking to improve that across the whole house and make it more livable. So it's both not in great condition, but it's also not a modern layout and not really workable, livable for, you know, the occupants that have just purchased the home. So what we're looking to do is build this, which we are making it taller so that we get some usable head height on the second floor. A little hard to see in this. It's not as deep. This sticks out a lot farther. This is shallower to the house. What you can't see here is that the backyard slopes up pretty significantly. So there's already issues with water. There's a retrofit French drain in the house. And so we're looking to kind of pull this away from that negative pitch back towards the house. And then we have this other lower addition here, which we've tucked in here so that we don't interfere with the second story windows. But we are looking to rebuild this. You know, we've mimicked the same roof line here. You know, there obviously would be less expensive ways of building this, but we want to take what was there and make it livable, modernize it, make it more energy efficient, but also make it usable so that these folks can, the intention here is that this is their forever home. So that's kind of the gist of the project. I think the other relevant things too are these are folks that have specifically picked out this house because they love the history of it. They've started to do a lot of research on, you know, who owned it, what happened, you know, where it went, where it's going, and they want to be the next stewards of the house. So looking to do this thing responsibly if we can.
Thank you, Anna.
I have plenty more to say, but I'll stop there because I don't know
Okay.
if you want me to ramble about this. I could talk about it all day.
That's, I'll be doing some rambling myself, so. Okay, Laura, can you remind me, I know we need a public comment, I don't know if the homeowners want to speak, but just the order, can you help me with the order of who's?
I mean, I think it's up to your discretion. You can
Okay.
either start with questions from the commission, or you can go to public comment first and then have the commission discuss.
Okay, why don't we have questions from the commission, and then we'll go to public comment, and then we'll have yeah, discussion. So
And I think the
Commissioner,
homeowners are here.
Yeah, I
They
can
feel really
quote them as
passionately.
well.
Sorry.
Commissioners Hetty and Walker and I did attend a site visit for the house on Friday, and we walked around inside and outside and met the owners. There was some question about the age of the addition, and it was assumed that it was a later around 1900 edition, but I circulated the bird's eye map from 1886, which actually pretty clearly shows the L out on the back. I don't know if Madeline or Hetty has a little bit more architectural history background than I do to kind of surmise whether my assumption when I saw the side of the house on the lower left here, where the clapboard is the same, and with the duplicate peaks in the roofs, that's what made me suspect that it was maybe original to the house. And while we don't have the exact building date, that map confirms that it really is pretty much part of the original structure. I don't know if there's a, I think my question to Madeline or to Hetty would be, if Ls were, I mean, sometimes Ls are added onto a house, but it seems also like Ls were added as part of the original structure. And it does seem that historically that this kind of 1.5 story was, when certainly when I look around town, the further back you go with the big house, little house, back house, barn, for some reason, the buildings got smaller. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that for that building style, but that half story height would be sort of a historically significant aspect of it. So
I think it's, in terms of the height issue, you're really looking into formal terms at a hierarchy that is expressed formally in the design of the building, from the front of the house to the back of the house, and from the public areas of the house facing Leslie Street to the servants' quarters or the serviced areas of the house at the back, where the plumbing, necessary for a kitchen and scullery type setup, servants potentially could be located. And that's certainly consistent with the time period of the house.
okay, great. Thanks, Hetty. Do commissioners have any questions for Anna or for the homeowners regarding the demolition of this structure?
I mean, I would just also add to that the roof line is really, I mean, that is an indication to me of to confirm the date that you're talking about of late
Yeah.
19th
So I got
century.
to see that, yeah.
That
they were-
hip roof with yes,
I have a question about that, because I would have thought the same, but the section right here is a flat roof, which seems like a really odd thing to have had. It's
where
like
is that?
this hip ends right here. You can kind of see this dark black shadow line. This whole section is a flat roof, so this chimney
Yeah.
comes out of a flat section.
It is odd, Anna, but I think it's something that could have been modified later on. I mean, there are clearly so many changes to this back L in terms of fenestration, in terms of condition, in terms of, what's actually there now.
Yeah, and the siding too doesn't match anything.
Lighting doesn't match on the side that faces the driveway.
Right.
I mean,
There's a-
also the main house is flat on top too, right? So I'm looking at it it seems like it's just sort of a mimic of the main house roof line.
Yeah, and the chimneys were also similarly styled.
What's that?
The chimneys match too, in the rear and the front. It's just a lot to suggest that it was built at the time of the house. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so part of our challenge here is we're trying to balance both the historical qualities and nature of all this, but also with what the needs of the current homeowner are, and also revitalizing the house. It's, it does sieve, it leaks air. We're looking at doing an energy, I know this isn't part of the purview here, but we're looking at doing an energy retrofit on the main house, upgrading all of the mechanical systems. But they also need a modern layout where the kitchen isn't totally detached from the house. It connects. They want one floor living, aging in place. So, we're trying to find that common ground between respecting what's there, working with what's there, which we're doing all over the main house. Very carefully, and it's really the addition that's become this back L that's become the challenge here.
Yep, no, that's very much appreciated. I think we just want to, when we go into the discussion about the demolition delay, we just want to have the most correct context for how this L relates to the house. So
Right. I just think my concern is that in the project summary, there's reference to imitating kind of early 20th century aspects of architecture, because it was thought to be of that era. And so so there's sort of a removal of the paneled frieze details and roof brackets, things like that.
Yeah, and that was our guess, that this was built in the early 19th century was just based on what the records we could find, kind of the early ones and the later ones, and trying to solve for the missing part. Our thought on the roof trim, because we're definitely open to suggestion here, is the main house has these, decorative brackets, this built up frieze, where this area still has some built up trim, but it's significantly scaled down. So I know it's probably hard to see in these renderings, and maybe we didn't, we didn't exactly replicate every stripe properly here. But the idea is that the addition here would be rebuilt to match the trim around here. We're not going to obviously copy the funky windows and the, vertical siding, but we are looking to match, this style here.
Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, do we have anyone for public comment? If you are a member of the public and would like to make public comment at this time, you can go ahead and raise your hand. I'm going to give that a moment. We have a few people in the public, but the only hand I see raised is Anna's, which is, I think, from your
Oh.
previous, yeah. I think it's from your previous identity or something.
Okay. Do I get to vote twice then? or-
Back and forth. I don't know. It's just going back and forth. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, and while that's waiting, oh, you know what? I just got a text. That's Kyle Belanger from my staff. He's been working with me and the Murphys, who are the owners. So
Oh, okay.
I think he
So
might
that-
have a comment. He's probably on my Zoom
okay.
account.
Okay, so he's using your account. Okay, so maybe we can Walker, can you just let
Yes,
the other Anna cook
He is
in?
now available. He
Yeah.
can now speak.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, great. Yeah, I've been texting Anna. I'm like, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm Kyle Belanger. I'm managing the project with Anna for the Murphys, and looking at the project, I just wanted to point out the fact, and I know Anna kind of touched on this as well, but when I met the Murphys and Anna was involved with the preliminary designs before I got involved, but it was just kind of refreshing to see what I thought was it was refreshing to see that the Murphys bought the house with the intent on all the things that we like to see with a historic home in Amherst, and that is, they really did respect the architecture that was there. They went down to get as much information as they could on their own, even alongside our own design advice as part of this. And when they're making decisions, it was also refreshing to see that, upon their own doing, they were insistent that, they brought in a third party, color specialist and trying to find the correct paint schemes that would be of period of this style home as well. So they really, it was really nice to see that they do care about what this is. And their decisions, although they appear to be spending their money, wisely, I feel like we always look at what the budget is for things, but the decision doesn't seem to be based on like, what am I going to get back from resale of this house? It's always, what does the house deserve? And, if it's the right thing, that's what they've been pushing for. So much down to like just pushing for the fact that they wanted to make sure that it was brick outside of a modern foundation because the current one is starting to fail. But just making sure we built in the proper brick ledge to have like full thickness brick. That's going to be a long lasting detail for that. So, it seems to be a good fit for the house. I hope that the layout that they're hoping for, which is going to help them stay in the house, is a favorable outcome. I mean, the intent on rebuilding it, although the thing that is probably the biggest, safety and layout concern to make that space usable is the winder stairs and then the 3 steps down, which can't really be corrected without having an improper head height on the second floor of under 7 feet. Those seem to be things that, essentially this structure would be rebuilt, albeit a slightly different footprint. It would be in keeping of the home with respect to the home and something that allows them, the house to work for them as well so that they can be a good steward of what the home is and respect to the area. So I just wanted to voice that. I mean, it's a lot of times you see whenever somebody wants to tear something down, you can see their own, wants, desires, needs sort of like shadow the respect of the home, and I just haven't seen that at all. So I just wanted to say that as another voice of, you know, an opinion for whatever that's worth. It kind of impressed me with what they want to do with it. So
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so I think we will leave the public comment portion of this public hearing and move on to deliberation. I wanted to start deliberation just by talking about my thought process after looking at the home and looking at the addition and then finding it on the 1886 map. And we go through this process, we've established that the building is significant, so we don't have to make that decision in this hearing. Now we're coming to whether the decision is that it would be preferably preserved. The idea of preferably preserved, as long as I'm saying that correctly, is that if there were some compelling reason to impose a delay because the loss of this particular part of the building would be a loss to the community. And I always get kind of hung up on this because I try to walk myself through all the pieces. And my first assumption was that if it was a much later addition, it wouldn't be as tied to the integrity of the whole house. But having found it on that bird's eye map, the integrity of it was raised to a certain level because it really is an addition that is essential to the building as a whole. And then we get into the issue of part of the exterior has been modified, but I wouldn't describe it, some other buildings we might come across could be described as modified to the point beyond, you know, recognition, that you can't really recognize the historic form anymore. And I think that with that peaked roof line and at least a few of the remaining historic windows, that's really there at this point. So I think for me, the question would be whether or not it meets the test of integrity. And I think it kind of historic integrity, that it kind of wobbles on that line. And then the next question for me was, and this is kind of a question for Nate too, is it conceivable to say that this portion of the building would be preferably preserved? And yet the commission, I feel like we have a duty to weigh into the fact in terms of imposing a demolition delay, whether or not that there's a reasonable expectation that imposing a delay would result in the preservation of the original historic structure. And I think in this circumstance, I find myself on the side that I feel like if I look at this piece just from an academic kind of question, I would say, oh yeah, it's preferably preserved. Most of that exterior structure is there. That roof line is there. The chimney is there. It seems to have been part of the original building. But from a realistic standpoint, I don't think that there's any expectation that if we were to oppose a delay, there would be any chance that any other thing would come around to cause that part of the building to be preserved. So that's why I'm on this kind of razor thin line. And we have before us a plan which mimics the footprint, and the change in height is probably good in a sense that it gives that new addition a sense that it's of a new era, even though it's paying homage to the rest of the building and the roof line. If we had someone before us without a plan, we could sort of say, well, it's preferably, or I would say, I could argue we preferably want to keep it, but since that doesn't seem feasible, we could allow for the demolition with design review, but we're already having a design review. So that's kind of where I'm stuck. My feeling is that I feel like to say that this is not a preferably preserved section of the building is a little bit maybe not true. And then the other side of it is that it's, I do think it's not feasible that a demolition delay would serve any purpose for this particular building. So I'll put that out there. And if somebody wants to make a completely different argument and put a motion before a commission, they are welcome to do so.
Well, I agree with you, Robin. Having been at the site visit and having a sense of the history here and what the owners have done in terms of due diligence in finding out about the house and the addition and their builders and architects, I think a delay is really not going to yield the resources, the information, different strategy, a different set of alternative ideas about how to go about them moving in and creating a forever home. So that's where I would concur with you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Hetty. Madeline, you want to weigh in?
I really appreciate, Robin, that you took us through your process, your thinking process here, because I think that's important for us to just sort of like be able to talk about it openly, and just because it isn't very straightforward. And I agree with you. Yeah, my initial thought to sort of take you on my winding route of thought process, it's similar. And I've been thinking that it would be important to me to ensure that this new edition does sort of pay homage to the original era architectural style that it was built in. Maybe but in sort of a modern kind of approach I mean, the most distinct characteristics I see are the roof line and those eaves, and just the lines of it are character defining traits of features that I think are important, that could be reflected in the new edition, and to maybe like, yes, consider a design to provide further feedback for the design. But then, as you say, like, we're kind of doing that right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think they're clearly, from these presentations I'm seeing and from your experience at the site visit, it seems as though it has been a lot of thought put into it, and I appreciate that. So yeah, that's my circuitous thinking. Pat, what do you think?
I was running through my mind essentially the arguments that Robin put forth. And Madeline, you clarified it to some extent, and Hetty has too. I think when I look at these photographs, the roof line is the most defining thing. And the fact that the owners have gone to such lengths to find the history and the architectural history, and are trying to honor that with this new edition. I think that the design review that we're doing right now confirms that the historical aspect of defined by the roof line will not be lost.
Okay. Thanks, Pat.
I would
Antonia?
say that I do appreciate the flared eaves of the original, and I don't see that in the proposed design. Hetty, you're nodding. I don't know. That's just a thought.
Could you clarify where you're talking about? Are you talking about down at the flat area or at the
At the
basement?
sort of lower
Mhm.
corners of the roof, currently there's these, like, it kind of goes down as a triangle and then it flares out before you reach the bottom part of the roof. I'm looking at our commissioners' photographs that they shared. Do you want me to show it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just,
I can stop the share here.
I'll just this here, if you see my cursor.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
On the ridge as it comes down.
Mhm.
Oh,
Right.
okay. I believe the homeowners are on the meeting here. I think I could speak for them, and I think they would agree to something like that. They
Absolutely.
could also jump. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, absolutely. We would, I just want, from a homeowner's perspective, I wanted to say that, I'm a history major. Actually, my focus was Victorian. So I think it was 1830 to 1910, more British, unfortunately, than American. But I have a lot of love for history. Brian, my husband, also has enormous love for history. We do want to do what's right for the house. And part of that decision making was, how can we do what's right for the house in terms of the health of the house and the livability of the house? So 100 years later, the house will be as wonderful to live in as it was 100 years ago. And that was part of the rationale for saying, how can we take pieces of this house, make it livable, make it our forever home, but also make sure that the next generation will enjoy it too. And if there are design features that we've missed, that was not deliberate. And we would absolutely welcome the opportunity to bring those into the designs.
Great, thank you. Antonio, did you want to comment? Or have
I
any
guess
questions?
I would guess I would just concur with what's been said. I think also landed similarly on, like, I think in a lot of these instances we don't always have necessarily the response or the tools. Like a delay is not necessarily going to answer any of like our questions. It would just, stop someone from, I think, living in this home. And I would say that, yeah, I think I really appreciate the homeowners like response to any of our suggestions in maintaining its historical character. And yeah, I would say I agreed with what's been said.
Thank you. So I think I'm going to try to put forward a proposal, and again, I would love if Nate, if you're there and you can weigh in on this, and Walker as well. I would like to put forward a motion to determine that the addition is preferably preserved. I wanted to add the fact that the lessee, Chauncey, I believe is his name, C.W. Lessee, read a little bit more about him. Maybe was a prominent builder. He's credited with building this house, which would have been, would have been his house, and he would have built the whole house with the L. So I think that if we could, if this seems feasible to the town, that we can vote on a motion that the section is deemed preferably preserved, but that we will waive the demolition delay in lieu of the design review that we've essentially had here, if that makes sense. And I just feel like it's important to not confuse the two issues, and that this gives the opportunity for that section of the house to really be recognized for what it is, without necessarily stopping the progress going forward. I'd feel less inclined to say that it's not preferably preserved because of its connection to the main house and the builder, and its overall integrity still there in terms of massing and some of the windows and some of the siding. So Nate, Walker, does that seem like a motion that would be feasible?
Rather let Nate weigh in if he's available. I'm not as familiar with the bylaw yet to say whether that sounds feasible or not.
I would, if something's perfectly preserved, usually it's for an amount of time. So I would actually say that it's significant for the reason stated, and that you'll allow demolition based on the plans and review. I mean, basically the same thing you said, Robin, but without saying preferably preserved. Just to me, if it's preferably preserved, it needs to be,
Reserved.
you know,
Okay, yeah.
no demolition. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
that makes sense. Okay, so in that regard, then, we would be looking at a motion for someone to make that the portion of the building is not preferably preserved. So do I have a motion from anyone on the commission? Would you want to come forward and just put a simple statement together?
So
Don't
is
all-
our statement that we have provided feedback to the design and that's it? And there's no follow up. Is that what you're saying?
Are you looking, would you be
Oh,
interested in more dialogue about the design?
I don't think so. I'm just clarifying that this has been the design review, and then we would move forward with approving the demolition. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, it would be essentially a finding of not preferably preserved. And then once we vote on that, if the motion passes, then the demolition permit is issued. We don't really even have to, we've had a design, we as a commission know we're not making any condition, I should say. I suppose like the plans could change entirely. We're not imposing any condition with the vote like that, but
But they still have a review with the local historic,
yes, right, that's true too.
which will look at the design.
Yep.
I think given that there is that added piece from the local historic district commission that's looking at those issues, that we're good to go. And I can't put my words together beautifully to make a motion, but I think we're at that point where we could entertain a motion and vote on something.
Okay, so then I will put the motion forward that we determine that the addition on 94 Leslie Street is not preferably preserved. Simple as that. And I need a second in order for that motion to go forward.
Second.
Pat has seconded. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? Okay, so then we'll go to a roll call vote. An affirmative vote is to vote that the demolition of the rear L is not, that the rear L is not preferably preserved. Madeline,
I vote in favor.
okay. Eddie,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Antonia,
Aye.
okay, and I vote aye as well. So the demolition permit can be issued. The project can move forward to the local historic district. And we appreciate your coming before us and your patience and sharing your home with us, and hope you have a good evening. I guess Nate Walker will be in touch about next steps.
Great. Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much. We
much.
appreciate your feedback too.
Thank you so much. We're going to look at the flared eaves as well, Anna.
Great.
Thank you much.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay,
Now you need to vote to close the hearing.
okay. Do we just vote or do we need a motion?
You need a
We just
motion.
vote.
Motion to, I move to close the public hearing for 94 Leslie Street.
Yeah, seconded.
Any seconds, Antonia?
Third.
Okay, did you say aye or third?
I can say aye.
Yeah. Hetty,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Madeline,
Aye.
and Robin, aye. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. We move on to the remainder of the public meeting. And first agenda item is approval of meeting minutes, November 5th, 2024, and then November 25th, 2024. Hold on, I'm just rearranging my screen here. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes and is ready to vote on them? I'll take that as an affirmative. I'm gonna put forward a motion to approve both sets of meetings. We're just gonna be bold. A motion to approve the meetings for the Historical Commission of November 5th, 2024 and November 25th, 2024. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Madeline seconds. So we'll go for roll call vote. Pat?
I have to recuse from the 25th. I was not there.
Okay, all right, then I mistakenly put them together and now, but we'll see if we can pass them anyway. And
Okay.
Tanya?
But I approve the other date.
Okay, Antonia,
Aye.
Betty,
I
Madeline,
Aye.
and I also vote aye, so motion passes, the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda, announcements. I just wanted to announce that the National Association of Preservation Commissions organization, they hold a webinar series all the time. Their next one coming up is on historic resource surveys. And I'm gonna put in the chat if I can find it. Maybe I don't know where the chat is. See, maybe it's here. No, is it at the Q&A, Walker? Is that where I would put a comment? I just wanted to put a link to this.
Yeah, I feel like there should be a chat, but I'm also not seeing it, so.
Okay,
It's turned off.
you know what? I will just distribute it as an email after this, but it's like an hour and a half webinar on historic surveys and their role in historic preservation. I think the fee is $15 to participate. And if you were interested in participating, you could inquire with Nate and Walker about whether that could be reimbursed. Next item on the agenda is Community Preservation Act application updates. Walker, you want to take the lead there?
I actually haven't been tracking the Community Preservation Act meetings, so I don't know where they're at in the process. I just put that on in case there was something that needed.
Oh,
to be
okay.
discussed.
Well, me being the representative, I should be able to tell you. I believe all the, I can't remember exactly, all the projects were approved. I know that we put a condition on the approval of the North Amherst Cemetery fence to consult with the Historical Commission on design. And I circulated earlier today some photos. I don't know if you could share them, Walker, but I did some research on, I did find written documentation that in 1850, the town voted for, or the town meeting records reflected that I think there was money for fencing in the North Amherst Cemetery. So we know that historically we have aerial evidence of a fence being there, and we have documentation of that, the existence of a fence going back as far as 1850. It seemed like a common thing that the town meeting would vote on to fence the cemeteries and provide money for. So the next question was what an appropriate fence would look like. And I know Madeline had said that she felt like and I think we concurred, what the town had put forward was maybe not the best option for what something that reflected the history of that cemetery would look like. So Walker, do you have the photos that I sent?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get them loaded so I can share.
Okay, yeah, I just did. I went into Digital Amherst and I looked under cemetery, and I did find two different options. This first one is, these are both Hadley cemeteries, but
Did you see that? Sorry, did you see the amount like in that write-up that they approved for the cemetery? Like
How
the
much did they approve?
value?
Oh, I think it was, how much did they approve for the CPA? I think it was.
Yeah, I just wonder if we could like maybe determine the material based on the amount. But-
Historically, no,
No.
there was not an amount. I mean, there was a reference at one point to, having a latitude between stone and wood. It's pretty
How
much.
how much did they
Oh,
request?
That's interesting.
Oh, the town requested, I think it was 40,000. I don't have it right.
And they got all of that?
I believe so, yes. But anyway, so there are two different fences here. This one, they're both from Hadley. These pictures are both from Hadley. I didn't write down the dates, but my guess here might be when I was looking at other historic pictures of just any fencing in Amherst, this is the kind of fencing that used to be around the common. And I don't know if this was just generally used because it was livestock fencing and that they would have people grazing their animals in cemetery areas. So that's one possibility. And then the other fence was actually much more picket fence oriented. And again, these are just, if you have that one, Walker.
Yeah, you see it now?
Still,
No.
I'm still
No?
seeing this
Oh.
one.
No.
Okay. I gotta stop the share and start again.
It makes me realize that how, there's rural cemeteries and these cemeteries that are located more closely to the town center.
It's a great picture. Fantastic.
Can you scroll out from that?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why it's so
Like right
big.
now. There we go.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put these out here. Maybe we can invite the town to come before us for our next meeting and look at both these photos and talk about options that people think would be appropriate. And I think Nate maybe suggested there was some remaining material from, I don't know if they're granite posts from what the fence prior. That would be kind of a third option, but I figured I would try to at least have some sort of visual representations from the area of what cemeteries actually look like if they were fenced.
I'm curious whether there might be a fence that would require less maintenance than painted wood or
Well, I
wood.
think that's what the town was proposing.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it's just a question of design and aesthetics and I don't know, something that seems appropriate to the age of the cemetery itself.
Just a question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, I think that's the intention, that the town wants something that isn't wood. And
Right.
that's a question for the commission, whether that seems appropriate or not. So this was more sort of a front loading of information with the intention of maybe bringing these images back when the town comes in to talk to us about what they're proposing and what the options might be and what we think might be the best solution. So as far as the other proposals, now I have to think off the top of my head. The Wildwood proposal, they've just done a fantastic job of continuing to get fundraising, so their ask got even lower, but they were fully funded. And the survey was funded, and what was the fourth one? I'm blanking on it. Yeah, I'd have to look.
The windows?
The windows, thank you. Yes, the windows fully funded. The windows were.
Yay.
Yep, yay, thanks. So that's that update. Next agenda item is the discussion of barn preservation applications. I saw that there were materials in the packet and I took a look at them. I'm assuming those came from Jan Walker?
Yeah, Jan drafted those up.
Okay.
Pass them along. I've also drafted a web page on the historical commission page, a link to this information and the application and whatnot that could be published as soon as all of this is approved.
Okay.
It's just the same information copied over essentially.
Okay.
And then we can create an application that people can either, that's one question, is do we want to create an application that people can fill out online like a Google form? Or do we want one that people can print out and mail in, or try to do both? So
Okay.
that's something to think about.
Okay, I would love to see, if we're gonna send a postcard out to people, I'd love to integrate an image of a historic barn. I think-
Yeah, so the draft that was sent out has, you know, image here, but it doesn't have an image complete.
Right,
included
right,
yet,
'cause
so
I
you'll
think
have to
that's
add
really
one.
what's gonna get people's attention, and maybe
Yeah.
on the written piece too. I mean, I don't know how other people feel, but I have a preference for, and I love being able to do a fillable PDF that could be submitted by email or printed.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I don't know if I have the ability to create a fillable PDF.
I feel like, I mean,
But-
in my use of PDFs, I don't know, as a parent, and it seems like most, if you have Adobe Reader, not Acrobat, not the
I
big.
do not.
What's that?
But
But
I do
Reader
not,
is-
but I can try to get it again.
Reader is the free product.
I know, but you still have to go through IT to get any software at all,
okay.
and they haven't been wanting to give it to me, but maybe if I have a good reason, they'll download it for me. It might
Oh.
also be something I could do through Google Docs. I think that's how my kid's school does it, is through Google Docs, a
Okay.
downloadable, fillable PDF type thing.
Well, what I was just gonna say is that in my experience, any PDF, you know, not for you, but for people in the outside world, generally, you know, you can just download Reader to your computer. You can fill and sign, like that's become like a standard, you know, you don't have to create a fillable document, like it just sort of, you know, will let you do a text box wherever you want.
Sometimes, yeah.
that's-
I'll look into it. I'll figure out a way that it's hopefully doable both ways.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or input on the barn preservation program?
I believe Jan said she thought you had a list of some of the barn owners or the locations.
Yeah, I do have, that's a to-do for me. Yeah, I have the outbuilding survey, and I've been meaning to strip the addresses from there because that's the intention of our mailing list.
Okay.
So I will again make that a to-do for the next meeting.
Or feel free to send it over to me and I can do that.
Okay, great.
Nate?
Yeah, I was gonna say for a form, we have, we could set up an online form through our website, like a comment form.
Yeah.
And then we have the,
wait
op-
for
we
that.
could, yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, or OpenGov, but we'd have to work to set that up with IT. I was just trying to think of something that doesn't need like additional software. So if we directed people to the online form, it would just be text boxes they could fill in.
Okay.
And then on the back end, it's an Excel spreadsheet that we could then, sort by any field, I think.
Yeah, as long as that
Yeah.
works for you.
I think
and-
that's a good way to reach people. I think that works.
Yeah, if the feeling is that people aren't going to want to print it out or fill it by hand, then I think that would be sufficient.
Right, and then they could upload attachments or whatever
Mhm.
information they needed on that online form.
Okay.
That was just an idea. We could Walker and I can look into what we think is going to work best. We have limited kind of IT, software available to us. So
Okay, I know how that goes. Okay. And then,
Yeah.
do we have any thoughts about, I mean, my strong preference was for a first come, first serve for this pilot program. That we don't judge one application against another. We just review them as they come in, and when we run out of money, we run out of money. Are there any objections to that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, so.
I do
So-
think it would be good if there was some kind of an announcement PSA, I can certainly write something either for the current or the indie that would be about the launch of this. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to get to this point, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can get it posted on the news section of the website and do some a press release or some sort of something like that as well
great.
from our side.
I was gonna say I can help with the postcard, like make it an InDesign, and
Oh, that'd be great.
like if you have photos or a photo, Robin.
Okay, okay.
And I think Jan might have also had some photos. You could try seeing if she had one she had in mind to use.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that off Robin's plate. I'll do it.
Thanks. Okay, the next agenda item is an update on the section 106 process for the Jones Library. Walker, you want to lead us through that?
Yeah, so the only update that I'm aware of is the letter that the Historic Commission was CC'd on, a letter from Mass Historic to the town regarding their kind of determination on what they thought needed to happen. And I did forward that to you all today. I don't know if you all had a chance to look at it, but Mass Historic had some opinions on what they preferred the library for the town look into as far as design changes and alternatives before they commit to a final design for the library. So I don't think there's any real role for the Historic Commission to be part of this necessarily, other than just as informed observers, but at least you're aware of what Mass Historic is saying at this point.
Well, could I clarify that as one of two consulting party members, that my role is over as far as the town is concerned? Because I don't really see it that way. So that's really why I wanted to put this item on the agenda. And at the time I put it on the agenda, we hadn't heard back in terms of adverse effects from the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And now that we have, and now that she has set out a number of concerns around the roof and the hole in the front of the 1928 building in the archaeological survey, I just want to have it documented that I don't really feel that we're finished. I think we're still in the process of deliberation. And, you know, I welcome any opportunity to publicly thank Bronagh Simon and the commission for responding to the 106, to the what the town had presented to them, with this further set of caveats, and you know, to encourage others, because we still haven't considered the issue of scale in terms of the addition, which was something that.
I'm sorry, I just want to pause you for a second, because I just
Yeah.
realized I should really be recused at this point, and Madeline should take over. Let me just, I'm gonna dampen my screen here, and you guys go ahead, and I'll come back in.
Sure.
Wait.
Yeah, so just to kind of address the letter, that letter suggests to me that the MHC is still in conversation with us as per the preservation agreement that we all signed earlier on, several years ago now, in terms of protecting the Jones. And while it makes comments about the roof and the front of the building and the hole for the book drop, and the archaeological survey, there are two other considerations that are really important that came up at the October 9th meeting, which were to do with the scale of the addition and how it impacts on the neighboring historic districts and the streetscape and viewscape, and the internal impact of the demolition on the parts of the 1928 building, particularly the director's office, which were being changed as a result of the automated book sorting equipment, which is now, through value engineering, has been removed. So I think there are still some pretty major adverse effects that are still kind of out there. And what concerns me is that even with the timeline, the new timeline and deadline for the building commissioners, the library building commissioners, to the end of March, we have some changes, you know, in terms of the administration that have already taken place as of yesterday that are going to have an impact on things like roofing materials and deliverables of one kind or another. And I'm just concerned that
Wait, what was that final? What was that? What do you mean?
That the deliverables in terms of roofing materials for the roof of
Uh-huh.
the journals are potentially quite impacted by that change, building materials, building supplies, timelines.
Oh,
So I'm just offering that as another thing that is sort of, it's those plates that are circling in the air for me that suggests to me that as a member of a consultative body, I think this is still ongoing. And that's really all I wanted to say when we were supposed to have a December meeting, and then we didn't have a quorum. A quorum. So here we are having that conversation now, and I don't need to say anything else except to just offer up my statement.
right. I
Thank-
think the update for me is, so the town issued their alternatives analysis, which was required by MHC. So MHC required an alternatives analysis to identify alternatives in the design that would avoid these impacts that MHC found. And the alternatives analysis, MHC's letter has stated that the alternatives analysis is not thorough. It doesn't actually consider the alternatives. It merely states why certain alternatives can't work. If you'll read the MHC letter. So I think this process is not complete, and I think it is a relief that we could see that the process was not complete, and it's a relief that MHC has also stated that the process is not complete. And this next alternatives analysis must, actually address the alternatives, and it's going to take some time for all those, for everything to be considered, if this process is going to actually happen for the library. So I think we're not done with this, but I do want to figure out a way for us, maybe we can be involved in the alternatives analysis. And I don't know how, as consulting parties, but I think that's all. I also do want to consider how we can avoid this happening in the future with us receiving MHC's comments after our own determination. And if it's possible to kind of keep this in mind, if 10 years down the line and something else, another large project in town happens, us commissioners won't be here, but I feel as though there should be something in place to avoid this kind of confusion that happened for us.
I couldn't agree more, Madeleine, and the process has been really tangled and difficult. And as someone who has been critical of the demolition and addition, probably more than anybody else on the commission to date, this is a very difficult town in which to have a dissenting voice. And I think that's really, really important to convey at this point in time.
Okay. So maybe we can consider putting something in place to require an MHC letter or statement before we are required to issue our own determination. I don't know if that's possible, but are we ready to move on to the next agenda item and return Robin?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Robin, you can come back.
Just can we text her, or is she listening? I don't
Yeah.
kind of.
I think she's listening.
Okay. Next agenda item is unanticipated items. The only thing that I had, let's see, was that we received a notice about an emergency barn demolition on 134 Montague Street. I don't know if Walker or Nate wanted to talk to the commission about that at all. If we have any photos to show. Oop, I didn't have my video on, sorry about that.
All I got was the notice of the emergency demo. I haven't seen any photos or any follow-up on that.
And what is what will be the process if the order has been issued? What time, at what point is the demolition required?
I'm not clear on that either. I could probably go on the permit system and see if the permit has been issued and if the work's been, I don't know if there's any way to know if the work's been done other than by driving by there.
Okay, so they just received the
I received
order,
the, yeah,
and they have how many days to demolish it before the town does what?
I don't know. Nate, do you know more about the emergency demo process?
We've never had something like this come before us.
I found a few old ones in the files, but I haven't seen this.
Okay.
Nate might be.
Very up.
Yeah, I think they have to secure the area with some fencing, and then they have some to start the process. But if the letter didn't say it might just be they're put on notice and they have to secure it. So, right now the public, it could fall on, it's behind provisions.
Yep.
It's the old barn as part of the homestead, and the roof's really deteriorated, and the wall's about to fall down. So, they have to fence it, keep the public away, and then at some point take it down. I don't. If it wasn't stated in the letter, then I think it's just, at some point in the near future it'll happen.
Okay. So, our only concern as commissioners is just, it's a done deal at this point, right?
It's basically just to inform you that it happened
Okay,
of courtesy, essentially.
okay.
Yeah, I guess if it's not down, we could, inquire about a site visit. It had been
Photos.
under a demolition delay for a while ago, and it's just deteriorated more in terms of part of the roof failing and some structural members inside the barn broke, and so then it's just to the point where it's probably not, probably can't be saved. But
Okay, so they had requested to demolish it, and the commission had imposed a delay.
This may have been like
It was a while ago, before my
8.
time.
Yeah, this could have been like 8 years ago.
Okay, and then they didn't, once the delay expired, they didn't bother to just take it down.
No, they had been looking at having a possible reuse for it. So
Okay,
they thought maybe it could be turned into something in the mill district, maybe storage. They're thinking maybe renovated as having, like some programmable space,
right,
an office or something. And I know they tried, it just, no one was interested in
okay,
reworking that barn.
okay, all right. Okay then. Any other unanticipated items? Okay, seeing none, schedule for our next meeting. Usually the first Monday of the month.
Oh, Robin,
Yeah,
so now that the survey was approved, yeah,
yeah.
for
that makes
CPA,
sense,
I guess I would probably want to move forward with finalizing the list of properties and such.
right? Okay,
So, is there anyone who wants to kind of help out in this whole process, or maybe we can?
I would love to help you.
Okay, awesome.
I have
You want-
several houses that I want to add to the list that I'm finding that
Okay,
are really interesting. So
So, yeah, why don't you guys, maybe bring so since it's CPA funding, they can't hire anybody till after July 1st. Nate and Walker will let us know about the procurement process in terms of finding a consultant to take on the job. But in the meantime, you guys can finalize the the properties list, which would, I'm assuming would be part of the RFQ. If it meets, I don't know what, there's always these procurement thresholds for whatever procurement process it needs to go through. I imagine that would be part of the scope of work, would be that. Your final version would be their preliminary list.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to rush this, but it would be, yeah, so over the next few months, we should
Yep.
keep working on the list.
Yeah,
Very
and
good.
Nate and Walker, if you can keep in touch with Madeline about the procurement process for that, just CC her and me.
Okay.
And we'll go forward with that. Great. Okay, so first Monday in February is the 3rd. Does that work for everyone at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Works
yes.
for me.
Yeah, works for me. Okay, so 7 p.m. on February 3rd will be our next meeting. And with that, it is 8:12 p.m. and I will adjourn this meeting of the Amherst Historical Commission. Thanks, everybody, for your attendance.
Happy New Year,
participation.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Stay well if you can. Okay, take care. Bye.